Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus pilot, and in today's video we are going to test the side stick dampening system of the Fenix A320. So currently it is disabled, as you can see over here, but we are going to do our first takeoff with it disabled, just to remind ourselves of the handling characteristics of the airplane with SDS turned off. And then we're going to turn SDS on, and we are going to see how the differences are going to be. So, in general, what is SDS? Well, I find the explanation in the video and on the FAQ page a little bit vague, so my basic idea is as follows. In the real world, you do have quite a bit of force on the side stick that you need in order to move it, and the side stick itself will also provide quite some resistance, especially when you let go of the stick, when you return it to neutral. And I suppose they kind of try to mimic those forces that you are going to experience on the stick using the SDS system. As I mentioned, though, I did find the explanation a little bit vague, not exactly 100% convincing, but I suppose we're just going to take off and find out about it. Right, so we are standing in Rhodes, Diagras Airport, and we are flying the A320 CFM this time again. So let's get on to it. Takeoff. Right, thrust set. $100 knots. V1 rotate. Right, positive rate. Gear up. And we're going to turn flight directors off at this point, bird on, and off we go out to the ocean. Right, so this is all flying with SDS still turned off. As I mentioned, just in order to refresh the memory of how this felt so that we can make a proper conclusion afterwards. So I'm going to clean the airplane up now. So auto thrust coming off, flap 0. Alright, looking good. So with a little bit of handling done here, let's just go selected speed 230, that is looking good. With that done, let's now go ahead and turn SDS on. So this is SDS Enabled. How's the difference going to be? I'm just doing a little bit of maneuvering here. So it does take a little bit more lag in the roll channel of the airplane. I'm doing the input on my physical side stick to a constant deflection now, and the stick in the cockpit does take a little bit longer to respond to that. Likewise, the airplane does take a little bit longer to start responding at all. Now, this is quite an interesting behavior that I noticed there, because this is something that I, until now, always associated a little bit more with the A330 rather than the A320 family. In the A330, sure enough, you do have that lack in airplane response to the side stick input. I personally always put that down to the inertia of the larger airplane, but it looks like something like this does actually exist in the A320 family as well. Right, so a little bit of maneuvering then. Let's go ahead and bring the airplane back into the general direction of the airport so that we don't get too far from it. And then let's do a little bit of basic maneuvering there. So let's start with a 1,000 feet a minute descent down to 4,000 feet. Let's see how difficult it is going to be to obtain those flying parameters. Likewise, I am going to bring the engines into view just slightly because let's set a new target here. We want to maintain 220 knots during that descent. Alright, so off we go. The target is 1,000 feet a minute downwards. Let's see how easy or hard it is to achieve that. A little bit of lag in the airplane responding to my sidestick inputs. But in general, here we go. 1,000 feet a minute on the way down. Roundabout at least. Takes a little bit to get used to doing that thrust handling here with the updated CFM engines, but don't worry, that is neither something positive nor something negative. Okay, let's roll wings level. You can kind of see how the airplane takes a little bit to actually get into and out of the roll. So it might just be me making things up, but it does seem to me that with the SDS turned on, the airplane does have a little bit more inertia getting into and out of the actual maneuvering. So you can see when I'm initiating or when I'm stopping a maneuver. Let me actually show you that on the actual horizon. The airplane does take a little time to accelerate into that angular movement there. And, well, that is something that I always thought was special to the A330, but looks like it is not. Right, let's take it down for a touch and go then, and after the touch and go, we are going to bring it straight into the landing. I tell you what, if the first landing actually works out fine, then we might just not even do a touch and go, because I do tend to actually like what I'm seeing over here. Alright, so down to 1500 feet, we've programmed our FMS for a visual approach. So let's manage that speed. Approach phase is active. Hello, Emmanuel here.
The cabin is now secure for landing.
Thank you. Right, 3,000 feet will be a beam in probably about 2,000 then. So looks about fine. Over there is our airfield. Perfectly inside already. Okay, very good. So that's pretty much all we needed to see over here.
2,500.
And that's checked. Alright, flaps 1. Speed check, flaps 1. So there is our field. Looking good so far. Right, let's start and reduce that speed. I'm going to try and show you the horizon a little bit more. I mean, could also do this so that you can see, well, kind of the horizon as well as my side stick inputs. But that makes it pretty hard to read the instruments, and honestly the reaction you see on the side stick in the cockpit down there pretty much is the corrected reaction already, so you can't really see what input I'm doing on my physical side stick here. So let's just go into somewhat of a normal view like this. Alright, so gear down, flap 2. And we will continue our descent, slowly but steadily. So let's see, we got about 3 miles to run until here, then 2 miles to run until the landing runway, so we're approximately 5 nautical miles from our landing. So our altitude is looking good. Let's go ahead and initiate standard descent over here. Some 500 feet a minute is going to do. Flaps 3. A little bit more power so that we don't get too slow. And I'm going to drive the final flaps as soon as we start turning onto the final. Alright, so my first result here is that I really do like the way the airplane is responding. There is a little bit of a delay in it, which, as I mentioned, I always thought that would be an A330 thing due to the size of the aircraft, but apparently it actually is an A320 thing as well. I never noticed that when I did my A320 sim sessions on the full flight, but so be it. Right, so about to start turning final, and I can only conclude that I'm pretty happy with the way this airplane is reacting. Now let's see about the landing. I might have to take everything back in case the landing goes bad. Then I'm gonna blame it all on the Phoenix, of course. So, flaps full. No, just joking. As always, when you do first landing in the simulator, things can go either way. You just gotta get used to the airplane in question, and that is totally normal. But I tend to say that the reaction that the plane is showing is actually quite good, so I'm actually pretty happy with this. Alright, let's continue our descent. A little bit hard to actually spot the poppies over there. I think it's showing 3 red. Okay, and here we come. Tiny bit offset here, but we are on a visual maneuvering. That means we need to be established on the center line only by 300 feet.
300.
And here we are. 300, exactly on center line. Okay, so looking good so far.
200. 100. 50, 40, 30,
Right.
20,
Flare it.
5.
Flare it a little bit too high, and just put it down before the end of the touchdown zone. Right. So, spoilers, reverse green, decel. And be aware, you say decel based upon what you feel in terms of the deceleration, not only in terms of what an auto brake indication there might give you. Right, so, my first result then, or my first opinion on SDS. It was the first time I'm using it, and I do really like it. It brings a little bit of that Abbas feeling that I got to know and love into the airplane, and that's a pretty good thing. As I mentioned, I always thought it would be an A330 inertia thing, due to the 230 tons that we are flying around, compared to those 60 and a bit tons that we're flying in the A320. It looks like it is actually a bit more of an A320 thing as well, so I do really appreciate how that handles. With that, I would give it a positive result. I did use the Thrustmaster Abbas stick in order to fly this, so my result is mostly valid for the Thrustmaster stick here as well. Now, I am going to do another test using the WinWings stick to see how it behaves on, let's call it, a little bit more high-end stick as well. And I could very well imagine that they had the lower-end hardware that most flight simmers are using in mind when they programmed this, and for that reason I went to use this stick on the first test. Now with that, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. Hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to let me know in a comment below. Let me know your experience with the SDS and tell me how you like it, because I would be really excited to hear a couple of opinions. And with that, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. As always, if you're up for more, don't forget to subscribe. Be sure to leave a like if you did indeed like the video, as it really helps out the channel. And finally, if you really like what I'm doing, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you for watching, and see you all again on the next one.